There are lots of other special cases where you might not strictly need two-way pick slanting to play scales. You'll see this position-shifting sixes pattern all the time in rock soloing. What we're doing here is descending on two strings using our scale chunk, and then, instead of repeating the chunk in place, we're sliding down one position and playing an ascending chunk. Once we do that, we slide back up to the top position, and the whole thing repeats. When you do this correctly, you can't really hear the slides, especially when you're only sliding a half step or a single fret. It's just a completely smooth melodic flow from high notes to low and back again. In fact, that's also what the staff notation looks like. The written form of this lick bears no evidence at all of the fretboard movement needed to make it happen. And orchestral string players probably wouldn't play it that way anyway, since position shifting is tougher for them without frets to keep the intonation under control. It's purely a guitaristic convention that we encounter this pattern so often in shred playing, and Mike plays shifts like this all the time, especially on the top strings. On the surface, there doesn't appear to be anything unusual about this. It's just two scale chunks right next to each other on the fretboard, the upper one, and then the one right below it. But when you look at the actual string changes involved, you'll notice something interesting. When the lick starts, we go down, up, down. So the last note on the string is a downstroke. Then we move to the lower string and play 3 notes. So far, so good. But instead of moving back up to the top string, we slide down to the next lower position and play 3 more notes. So in total, we've now played 6 notes on the lower string. And lo and behold, the last of those 6 notes is once again a downstroke. In fact, when you loop this pattern, you realize that every string has 6 notes on it, and the last note is always a downstroke. Even number of notes per string, last note is a downstroke, we know what that is. That's upward pick slanting. Sure enough, even though this pattern is based on a 3-note per string fingering, we can actually play the entire thing with nothing but pure upward pick slanting. And this is just a result of the way it's laid out on the fretboard. The position shifting doubles the number of notes on each string to 6, which is an even number, making it perfect for one-way pick slanting. The same thing happens when you double the number of chunks. In this shift 12s pattern, we have 2 descending chunks, and 2 ascending ones. So we're moving across 4 strings in total. And just like shift 6s, the strings where we have the position shift can be handled with upward pick slanting by itself. That's the shift on the D string. In fact, when you loop this lick, you realize that the only time you need to use two-way pick slanting is the transition from the G string to the D string. So right in the middle, the whole rest of the time, the lick is basically an upward pick slanting lick. If we take this pattern across all the strings, once again, the same thing happens. The shifting happens at the turnaround points, and it's in those turnaround points that the lick becomes a one-way pick slanting lick. There's the base position shift as upward pick slanting. And then we continue on up as two-way again. You might think it's more work to memorize these hybrid versions, especially considering the original two-way pick slanting scale chunk still works fine here. But your hands are extremely intuitive when it comes to finding the path of least resistance. And even if you don't specifically intend to start mixing and matching one-way and two-way pick slanting, after a little while of working on licks like these, you might discover that you're already doing it.